Good morning. I've just listened to the latest rant from Twomey, which is nothing more than government rhetoric of the political parties. To start off with, she knows, and the Constitution states clear, that political parties don't belong in this country. She also knows that political parties and their so-called governments do not put legislation together. If she doesn't know it, I suggest she goes back and reads the Constitution. It's clear. We have an executive. That is the Governor General, and this is federal I'm talking about, and at state level the Governor, and they select 10 from the lower house and 8 from the upper house. They give each of those people a portfolio. It's nothing to do with the Premier or Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister and Premiers are not in the Constitution. They don't actually exist lawfully, except those Speakers of the House. Anything else is just a pack of lies. Now, and in your rant, you refer to sections of the Constitution, and I refer to 114, that prohibits the states from raising an army. So where you got the attachment you got, I don't know. It says it clear. You talk about the GST, and that's a reason for ABNs. So let's get to it. The Commonwealth of Australia Proprietary Limited was registered on the US Securities Exchange Commission as a corporation. Registration number 0000805157. That's it. Now, they issue a prospectus. Well, if they're not going to issue shares, why did they do that? And why do they sell Australian bonds there? All in America. Why? Why do they do stocks and everything else there? Why is that? Are you going to explain that? And a corporation, the way you explained it, is not actually correct. A CN is a corporation, and it's already been determined both in England and Australia and in Canada and even in America that a corporation is an entity unto itself. It has to have a CEO and directors. That's a corporation. In Australia, it has an ACN. An ABN number is for somebody trading as. Now, you made several statements about the people are legal entities. No, the people are not legal entities. They're lawful human beings, and they are entities to a degree, but not the way you put it. We're not legal, we're lawful, because we are one of the 27 million that make up the Commonwealth of Australia. We the people of the Commonwealth. You've got the Red Book, you've referred to it, so look at page 701, it says Commonwealth, quasi sovereign. Under that, the Constitution. Then it says Federal Parliament, Executive, Legislature, Judicature. State Parliament, Executive, Legislature, Judicature. What does that mean to you? According to you, you bring out some tennis club or something like that. Your assertions in relation to that to a degree are correct. I've read the Corporations Act. It's a big wad about that thick of legislation and how it relates to corporations. As a sovereign entity in this country, a free person, which we all are, unfortunately you are too, and I say unfortunately because you spew out government rhetoric, not the truth. And that's a fact. It is not the truth. Go through it and correct all the faults in it, and then come back and tell the truth. To start off with, the corporation of the Commonwealth of Australia is not there for the reason you say. It's there to sell Australian products originally. That's why it was created. Now it does yearly reports, and they're all on the internet. Now there's a notice to Patriots, I've seen it, I've read it, which knocks out all the corporations and everything in Australia. That document suffers the same fate as you, Twomey. It's nonsense until it's proven to be fact. If it's true, we're back under our Constitution, and all the things you're talking about are gone automatically. No, the Constitution does not give any government the right to own anything. They're a legislature. They're not sovereign, they're not supreme. The Constitution clearly says that. The Constitution clearly says the absolute, the supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us, the people. The people. That's us. We're people. We're not legal entities. We always have, been in a position to be sued or sue or take it to court and all the rest of the stuff that you came out with to a degree. Now, GST, goods and services, two subjects of tax in one act. Section 51, subsection 2 says you can't have it. Can't have it. The Parliament is not above the Constitution. You say you can't have GST, you can't do base statements, you can't have pay-as-you-go tax. All that nonsense is a lie and a fraud on the people. The Constitution says it is. It says it's actual blatant treason. Now, you referred to a case in Mundaring. I actually have read that because I know the gentleman in front of Tottle. Tottle is a loony. One, he has never sworn the lawful oath of allegiance required of all judges in this country, every single one. Forge versus ASIC, you've heard it, you've read it, it's been chucked around, and if you haven't read it, more fool you. It says not only permanent judges, but temporary judges must swear the oath of allegiance before they swear their oath of office. Now, HCA 44 of 2010. What did the High Court decide with that? 1688 Bill of Rights, habeas corpus, and all imperial law is law in this country and must be abided by. What is habeas corpus, Anne Twomey? It's an imperial law, can't be changed by any colony, and we're a self-governing colony of England, whether you like it or not. Slipping in there that we're sovereign is a lie, absolute lie, and you know that, so don't say it's anything else. Now, your biggest problem at present is trying to justify what you just said, because you now are a war criminal. You have waged war on the people through your dishonest statements. And that's exactly what you've done. That's a war crime. And by covering up and never bringing up the fact that they've covered up pedophiles, Commonwealth Criminal Code says you're a pedophile. I'm not talking about your actions because of your inaction. Your ability to do something and you've done nothing. Now, in relation to ABNs for all government departments, I suggest you get a copy of Fair Work Australia Act. I suggest you also look into Dun & Bradstreet and look up all the registered companies that are registered in America under the Foreign Agents Registration Act as foreign agent government entities. So how can they come back into Australia? I'm talking about local, so-called local government that you love and it isn't. You can't determine which is the correct one, so that's okay. Everybody thinks you're a knobhead for doing that, but anyway, just leave it at that. You can say what you like. I'm not saying you can't. I think restriction on what we say on here is ridiculous, and it's self-centered so the government can control us, and not going to, because we are correct. We. Now, talking about these foreign agent government entities, which is all your courts, all the Department of the Attorney General, all the DPP, your public prosecutors, they're all required to be officers of the Crown. So are you. If you're paid in a government position, you're a public servant, and that's what you are. A public servant. You're supposed to serve the public. You know what that means? Number one, tell the truth. That would be nice. That would be really nice. Whether you are repeating what other people say or not, it doesn't matter. You have to check out whether it's the truth. And you're not doing that. It's obvious. Because you quote sections of the Constitution, when you read it, it's not the same. You quote sections that give the government permission to do this, that and the other. They're not a government. The government is three tiers: executive, legislature and judicature. The executive selects 18, as I said. They have the portfolios. They put legislation together. They put that legislation to where? To the Parliament as a bill. The lower house of the Parliament debates it, sorts out all the blemishes in it or any problems with it, and hands it to the upper house. The upper house goes through it, makes sure it complies with the Constitution, and hands it to the governor. If we had a lawful one, but the political parties decide we can't have that. Now, herein lies some of your big problems, because if it complies with the Constitution, and if the governor sees that and signs it, he does on behalf of the Crown. That binds the Crown to a law made pursuant to the Constitution. And it's binding on the courts, judges and people of every state. Simple. Very simple, perfect thing. We do not need the government to have ABN numbers, ACN numbers, because they're not a government. They are run, the whole lot is a public service. And yes, you can prosecute them. Can you prosecute the Crown? You can't tax the Crown. You can't tax the Commonwealth either. So, in relation to the Crown, there's not all types of Crown, there's one. And it isn't that piece of metal in the Tower of London. That's a nonsense. Outright lie, actually. You should know better than that. A simple check-up will find out that's not the Crown. The Crown of England is God. England was controlled by the Roman Church until the 16th century. It then was controlled by the Church of England. The same rhetoric, but as a protesting church against the Roman Church. So it is how I say. And they come back as archbishops. And they set up the Church of England. The archbishop basically has the final say in almost everything in England after the Parliament and the House of Lords have dealt with it. I'm talking about the House of Commons, which has a numerous amount of political parties in it, but it's only one body. Now, you said previously you can't go to the Privy Council. That's an outright lie, because it doesn't exist anymore. That's a bigger lie. No parliament in a colony can legislate against imperial law. Magna Carta is not a statute. It is a right, a document of rights, a charter of rights, if you would. And it is 1/5 of the British Constitution. You can have all your Labour morons and Fabian idiots and Freemasons and all the rest sitting in there saying that it's not, but it doesn't change a thing. It doesn't change anything. It's a fact. All you're trying to do is break down our system. Our system is the people who are the Commonwealth, the Constitution, which is law and it's a letters patent, you cannot touch it. If you say you can, you're a liar. Read Statute of Monopolies. Billy Hughes tried to knock it out 8 or 9 times with a referendum. Didn't happen. People will wake up to his nonsense and didn't get his way. So it remains. The problem is, in this country, we've got that many liars. So let's get back to this court. No Justice Tottle, or any other judge in Western Australia or anywhere in Australia. You're employed under the authority of the Crown, to exercise the authority of the Crown. God's law. Not what you think. Magna Carta, 1688 Bill of Rights, Habeas Corpus, Act of Settlement, and the King James Bible is God's law. No one in this country has the power to change it. Not even the people. It's an indissoluble federation of the Commonwealth of Australia. Indissoluble federation, can't be dissolved. Not even by the people. We have no power to change it. We have the power to alter it. There's a big difference. You say alterations are changed. Well, that's all right if you want to generalise things and make it look like a whisk in the wind or some other crap that you come out with. But nonetheless, You cannot change it. You have the power of alteration. The state ones, they can too. But because their letters patent has to go to the reigning monarch to get signed off by them. Because otherwise you change their letters patent by changing one letter. It was being said in the High Court. It's been said in the Federal Parliament. You cannot change one letter. It is a change. And then you need the permission of the reigning monarch, which under the statute of monopolies requires that to alter a letter's patent or change a letter's patent. It's there in front of you, if you want to tell the truth. Now back to Toddle again. Habeas corpus was to do away with Star Chamber hearings. The synagogue of Satan, because it involved one judge making decisions over the people. That's exactly what it's for. That was called the synagogue of Satan because it was a load of satanic crap where you sat there and one person decided, and if he got enough money stuck in his pocket, he decided for that person to give him the money. And that was going on. That's why it was brought out. It also has the provisions to force you or the incarcerated person to be brought up before the court based on new evidence or evidence was overlooked so that they don't stay incarcerated for 10 years for something they didn't do. It's a safeguard. Read it, weep, and understand it. All imperial law is law in this country and must be abided by. Chief Justice French said that in 2010, HCA 44. Read it and weep. Now, judges, plural, are adjudicators between the law and the people in the case that's before them. Not one judge, not one magistrate. A magistrate can't sit in judgment of anybody. Get your throat that way? It should do. Magistrates are stipendiary magistrates. They are taken from the pool of justice of the peace. That's why the letters patent for each state says the governor can select all judges and justices of the peace. Where did the justice of the peace come from? The deacons of the Church of England. Go look it up. It's imperial law. And what do they become? Stipendiary magistrates. They can take a plea of guilty or not guilty. On guilty, they can read the penalty in law according to their decision they made to plead guilty. If they plead not guilty, you're going to bring all the charges on indictment. I don't care what you think. Read your constitution. It's clear. Very clear. So everything is actually going on at present is a fraud. I hope that notice to patriots is correct. I hope it is. You know why? Because it'll destroy everything you've just said. We go back, we have no police, no judges, no magistrates, no politicians, no Twomeys, nobody except what the Constitution guarantees. If you don't like what I say, Twomey, at least answer with honesty instead of nonsense and get your sections of the Constitution correct, because it's not. They are running the Commonwealth of Australia Corporation. They're running the Commonwealth of Australia Trading Company, LLC, registered in Delaware, District of Columbia, in the state of New York. But not for long. Trump's going to wipe all that out with a bit of luck if he sticks to his word. I'm not 100% convinced that Trump's right. Anybody who says they are hasn't got an open mind. You've got to have one. You've got to understand or comprehend whatever he does has to fit with our Constitution or it doesn't exist. It's not up to him. It's not up to you. It's up to us. We are not an independent nation. The Australia Act never went to the people. It's a nonsense, a lie. And Section 5 of that says, Commonwealth Constitution Act, Commonwealth Constitution, Statute of Westminster, not affected by this Act. What's it saying? More garbage from you, you're wrong again. Are you sovereign and supreme? No. Parliament, the Constitution says the people are. It says the Parliament's not. It says not all your laws are valid, only those passed pursuant to the Constitution, so they don't have plenary power the way you say it. The Parliament, as a debating factor of our system of government, has plenary power in relation to every bill put to it to consider it and pass it if they think fit, according to law. They do not have the authority to put laws together. You think I'm wrong? Read chapter 1, 2 and 3 of the Constitution, apply the 9 clauses, shows you're wrong and you're not telling the truth. So you have a lovely Australia Day, and it is to celebrate all Australians, black, white, brindle, yellow, whatever. We're here to celebrate this country which all of us have contributed to, including the people where I stay. The grandfather fought in the war. He was native. I hate the word Aboriginal. You know, I look at Madison King. I listen to what she says. Apart from a little bit of language which can be trimmed off, she's a Kimberley girl. She's running for the Senate. That's good to see, but she needs to be selected by the governor. Form a pool of people so that we can vote for one of those people for the Senate and one of those people for the House of Representatives, up to the amount of 12 senators and whatever number of House of Representatives. That's how it has to be done. Not political parties, not all their lies, their fraud, their deception. There's no such thing as electoral council, electoral commission. That's a registered company. Oh, look at that. It's not. It just belongs to the government. No, and Twomey, how are you going to explain that one when the Constitution says clearly that all the elections have to be state by state? It's the representatives of the states that go to Canberra to form the federal parliament. That's how it is. From a pool of people put together by the governor, not political parties. That's how it is. Doesn't matter what lies you want to put in there. It is truth that I'm talking. If I'm wrong, you show me in the Constitution, I'll concede it. I'll come back on here and say I'm wrong in that point. But you do the same. You do it. You go through the stuff that you're saying and you put it there and you tell the truth. Stop misleading and deceiving people for the benefit of these political parties, which is exactly what you're doing. If you don't understand what you're saying is a lie, then read your Constitution. You'll find out what you're saying is a lie. And I hope you all, everybody who's watching, have a very good Australia Day. A celebration of setting up this country as one people. We're as the people. It didn't discriminate against nations, cultures or anything else. But we are all one race, the human race. No matter our skin colour. We all bleed the same colour. We all look the same inside, to a degree, unless you're male or female. Anyway, you sort that bit out. Have a lovely day. I don't care what you say, and to me, start telling the truth. Look at what you say so it is the truth. Thank you.